I'm often referred to as a burden. I've been told I should be grateful for the privilege of staying in my own home. While I consumed their leftover meals, they indulged in steaks. However, everything changed the night I won $63 million. Suddenly, they began addressing me as Mommy Dearest. That was the moment I realized what I needed to do. My name is Barbara Sullivan. I'm 72 years old, and I am about to share a story that still makes my hands tremble when I recall it. Before we begin, I invite you to leave a comment to let me know where you're watching from. I genuinely enjoy hearing from all of you. This journey commenced 3 years ago when my husband, George, passed away after 48 years of marriage. He was a factory supervisor who dedicated his life to the same plant. Together, we raised three children: Michael, Jennifer, and David. While we were not wealthy, we lived comfortably, having paid off our mortgage, supported our children through college, and saved what we could. However, after George's death, my life changed drastically. His pension ceased with his passing, leaving me reliant on my Social Security income of $970 per month. Thankfully, the house was paid off, but expenses such as property taxes, utilities, insurance, and groceries quickly accumulated. I had worked part-time as a school secretary for years, but my pension was minimal. Altogether, my monthly income was approximately $1,400. I had hoped my children would understand my plight and assist me in navigating this difficult period. Instead, 2 weeks after the funeral, Michael arrived with his wife, Tiffany, proposing they move into my four-bedroom home temporarily. They claimed they would assist with expenses and that I wouldn't need to worry about anything. Feeling lonely in a house that felt vast without George, I agreed almost immediately. In retrospect, I realize how naive I was, desperately wanting to believe my son had my best interests at heart. They moved in that spring, with Michael and Tiffany taking the master bedroom, the space I had shared with George for 30 years. They justified their decision by saying they needed the larger closet for their professional attire. I relocated to the smallest bedroom at the end of the hall, which had once belonged to David, still adorned with the blue wallpaper he had chosen as a child. Initially, everything seemed fine. Michael worked in pharmaceutical sales and earned a decent salary, while Tiffany was a dental hygienist. They would return home with shopping bags, sharing stories about their day. I contributed by cooking dinner, trying to do my part. However, they would eat, leave their dishes on the table, and retreat to their room or go out with friends. The first argument erupted 2 months later when I used some ground beef from the refrigerator to make meatloaf. Tiffany returned home, furious, revealing that the beef was expensive, grass-fed, and organic, purchased for a special recipe. I apologized and offered to replace it, but with my budget of $900 a month, I couldn't afford $20 per pound for ground beef. She dismissed my apology, saying, "Just ask before you touch our food, Barbara." This was my first warning sign. The situation regarding food escalated rapidly. Within 3 months, the refrigerator became divided. They began designating specific shelves for their groceries, reserving the top shelves for premium items like fresh berries and imported cheeses. My groceries, when affordable, occupied the bottom shelves. Occasionally, I would splurge on a sale item, such as chicken thighs, which felt like a luxury. Our meals differed significantly. They dined on salmon with asparagus, while I made scrambled eggs or a can of soup. When they ordered takeout multiple times a week, I was never asked if I wanted anything. Instead, I would eat cereal in the kitchen, trying not to watch. The issue of leftovers became particularly painful. After meals, Tiffany would save half-eaten food in containers, which I was expected to wait for permission to consume. One evening, I was particularly hungry after skipping lunch to save money. I noticed a container with pasta and chicken and heated it up. When Tiffany discovered the empty container the next morning, she reacted as if I had stolen something valuable. "That was Michael's lunch for work," she snapped. "He specifically saved that. Now he'll have to buy something, and we're trying to save money, Barbara." I quietly apologized, feeling ashamed. Over time, my situation deteriorated. I began shopping at discount grocery stores, carefully selecting dented cans and day-old bread. My meals became sparse, often consisting of toast with butter and a cup of tea. I lost weight and my clothes fit loosely. At my annual checkup, My doctor inquired about my eating habits, to which I lied, claiming I was merely watching my figure. During this time, my daughter Jennifer visited once. Living 2 hours away with her husband Craig and their two teenagers, she had always been close to her father. After George's death, she rarely called. When she did visit, she observed how Michael and Tiffany had taken over but said nothing. After dinner, she hugged me goodbye, whispering, "At least you're not alone, Mom." Alone. I had never felt more isolated in my life. Surrounded by people, I felt invisible, treated as an inconvenience to navigate around. David, my youngest, was stationed overseas with the Marines. Although we occasionally emailed, I didn't want to burden him with my struggles. 6 months after Michael and Tiffany moved in, Jennifer and Craig reached out, expressing financial difficulties. Craig had lost his job, and they were falling behind on their mortgage. Jennifer called me in tears, pleading for help. Before I could process the situation, they were packing up their home and moving into mine. My 3-bedroom house now accommodated 7 people. Michael and Tiffany in the master bedroom, Jennifer and Craig in what had once been Jennifer's childhood room, and their 2 children, Emma and Tyler, in the guest room. I remained in David's old room, listening to the teenagers argue through thin walls while my grocery budget tightened further. The house devolved into chaos. Jennifer and Craig were not employed. They were searching for opportunities, but often slept until 10 a.m., used all the hot water, left messes everywhere, and acted as if they were doing me a favor by living there. The children treated the place like a hotel, consuming everything in sight while leaving dishes piled in the sink and never expressing gratitude when I cleaned up after them. My electric and water bills skyrocketed, making it impossible to manage my budget. I began receiving late payment notices. That's when Michael called a family meeting. Everyone gathered in the living room, and he stood as if leading a board meeting. "We need to discuss finances," he began. "The utility bills are out of control. Mom, we know you're on a fixed income, but we all contribute here. We need you to pay your fair share." My fair share. I stared at him, incredulous. "Michael, I'm covering the property taxes and insurance. I even paid for the new hot water heater last month when the old one broke." "And we appreciate that," Tiffany interjected. "But we're discussing monthly expenses. We believe everyone should contribute equally to utilities and groceries." My voice barely rose above a whisper. "There are 7 people here. I'm one person. I eat perhaps 1 meal a day. Are you suggesting I pay 1/7 of bills that have multiplied tenfold since I lived alone?" Jennifer leaned in. "Mom, don't be dramatic. We're family. We support one another." The words escaped my lips before I could stop them. "Are you taking advantage of me?" The room fell silent. Michael's expression hardened. "You want to talk about taking advantage? We moved in to help you. You were struggling and alone. We sacrificed our independence to be here, and this is the gratitude we receive." Tiffany added, "You would be lost without us. You would probably need to sell this house and move into a depressing senior apartment." I felt something within me shatter. These were my children, the ones I had raised, nurtured, and sacrificed for. They were sitting in my living room, telling me I should be grateful for their presence. They demanded $300 a month from my $900 Social Security check, leaving me $600 for all other expenses. I was already using the last of George's life insurance to cover property taxes. I attempted to explain my situation, presenting my bank statements and bills. Michael barely glanced at them. "You need to make it work, Mom. We all have expenses." "This is my household," I insisted quietly. "And we are letting you stay in it," Tiffany retorted. She then softened her tone artificially. "What Michael means is that we're all in this together. Family helps family." I paid the $300 that month, and the next, and the next. I stopped taking my cholesterol medication because I couldn't afford both the pills and food. I began shopping exclusively at the dollar store, my diet consisting of toast, eggs when they were on sale, rice, and beans. I lost more weight, and my hands started shaking from low blood sugar. I was perpetually hungry. Meanwhile, they lived lavishly. Michael and Tiffany purchased a luxury SUV and dined out at expensive restaurants multiple times a week. Tiffany indulged in bi-weekly nail treatments and monthly hair coloring, while Jennifer bought her children new phones and designer clothes. Craig joined a golf club. When I questioned Michael about their spending habits, he became defensive. That's our business, Mom. We work hard and deserve to enjoy our money. Just because you're on a fixed income doesn't mean we have to live like we are. But you're living in my house, I replied. You claimed you were struggling. We are struggling, he insisted. Do you know how costly it is to maintain appearances in my industry? I need that car for client meetings. Their future was always prioritized over mine. I was merely a landlord who didn't charge rent, a maid they didn't hire, a convenience they exploited while telling me I should be grateful. The breaking point came on a Tuesday evening in November. I had prepared a simple dinner of soup and toast while they enjoyed taco night in the dining room. I could hear their laughter, their enjoyment. Once they finished, I waited for the kitchen to clear before cleaning up. Leftover platters of seasoned ground beef, shredded cheese, guacamole, and salsa sat untouched. My stomach growled as I contemplated the food they would allow to spoil rather than offer me a portion. I reached for a tortilla and Tiffany re-entered the kitchen. Really, Barbara? She scolded, crossing her arms. You couldn't wait to be invited? In that moment, I realized I was no longer family. I was merely the help. For 40 years, I had purchased lottery tickets. Every Wednesday and Saturday, George and I would stop at the gas station to select our numbers, birthdays, anniversaries, and the house number where we raised our children. After his death, I continued this tradition, feeling it kept a piece of him alive. Even when finances were tight, I managed to scrape together $2 weekly. One frigid Wednesday evening in January, I walked to the corner gas station. Michael had just asked me for an additional $100 for household supplies, despite my noticing cases of craft beer being unloaded into the garage. I had $43 in my checking account until my Social Security payment arrived the following week. Standing in the gas station with my last $2, I debated whether to buy a lottery ticket or save it for milk. I chose the ticket, perhaps out of spite, hope, or a desire for control over my life, however small. I folded the ticket into my coat pocket and walked home through the biting wind. On Saturday morning, I awoke at 5:30 a.m., as usual. The house was quiet. Everyone else slept until at least 9 a.m. on weekends. I brewed tea with a used tea bag, something I had started doing to save money, and turned on the small kitchen TV for the lottery drawing. I retrieved the ticket from my pocket, hardly paying attention. As the numbers were announced, I realized I had them all. My hands trembled so violently that I struggled to hold the ticket. After checking it multiple times, I confirmed I had won the jackpot, $63 million. I sat in my kitchen chair, stunned, unable to move or breathe. After 20 minutes of staring at the ticket, I finally stood on shaky legs, hid it inside an old Bible that had belonged to my mother. No one in this house would ever think to look there. For 3 days, I kept my victory a secret, observing them as they continued their lives, spending money they didn't possess and treating me as if I were invisible. Tiffany lamented her need for a vacation. Jennifer discussed remodeling her kitchen, and Michael mentioned they might need my bedroom soon for a nursery. They were already planning to oust me from my own home. They just hadn't informed me yet. On the 4th day, Michael approached me again about finances. Mom, we need to discuss increasing your monthly contribution. Everything's becoming more expensive. We believe $400 a month is fair. I nearly laughed. With $400 deducted from my $900, I would be left with $500 monthly, less than $20 a day. Looking at my son, the firstborn, the baby I had nurtured, the toddler I had rocked to sleep, I realized I no longer recognized him. This was not the child I had raised. This was a stranger wearing my son's face, viewing me merely as a resource to exploit. Everything shifted when the local news announced that someone in our town had won the lottery. They reported on the unclaimed $63 million ticket purchased at Miller's gas station on Elm Street, creating a frenzy about the identity of the lucky winner. As I watched the news that evening, my expression remained neutral, but my heart raced. Michael speculated about what he would do with such wealth. Jennifer expressed desires to buy her children everything they wanted, and Tiffany began browsing expensive houses on her phone. No one glanced at me. Why would they? I was simply the old woman eating leftovers in the corner, the burden they tolerated. It never occurred to them that I might be the winner. Yet, something shifted after that broadcast. Suddenly, everyone seemed superstitious about being kind. You never know who might be secretly rich, Tiffany remarked at dinner that night, even bringing me a full plate of food, an actual meal, not leftovers. It was the first time in 6 months that I had been offered a proper meal in my own home. The following morning, Michael inquired about my health, something he hadn't done in over a year. Jennifer reverted to calling me mommy instead of mom, a term she hadn't used since childhood. Craig offered to shovel the driveway, and the kids exhibited manners, saying please and thank you. If you are enjoying this story and wish to hear more, please subscribe to my channel. It truly helps me continue creating these videos for you. 2 weeks passed, and the lottery winner had yet to come forward. I located a payphone at the library to call the lottery office and inquired about the claiming process. They informed me I had 180 days to claim the prize and could remain anonymous in my state. I needed to set up a trust and consult a lawyer, but I was not ready yet. I wanted to observe and learn who these individuals truly were when they believed they might benefit from my fortune. The transformation was remarkable. Suddenly, I was Mommy Dearest. Jennifer began calling daily, bringing me coffee and reminiscing about childhood memories. Michael insisted I reclaim the master bedroom, asserting, "You're right, Mom. That's your room. We were inconsiderate." Tiffany apologized for any misunderstandings regarding food and began buying me groceries, name brand items, fresh produce, everything I had gone without. She prepared elaborate meals and served me first, insisting I deserved to be treated special. They ceased asking for money. In fact, Michael offered to give me financial support, saying, "You shouldn't have to worry about expenses. Mom, we're family. We care for one another." Craig found employment, and after 8 months of searching, Jennifer began cleaning the house without prompting. The children became polite, helpful, and considerate. They all transformed overnight into the loving family I had longed for. But every act of kindness only reinforced what I had suspected from the beginning. None of it was genuine. Their sudden affection was calculated. They feared someone nearby might be wealthy, and they wanted to hedge their bets. I decided to test them. One evening, I mentioned considering updating my will, which I hadn't done since George passed. I had previously divided everything equally among my 3 children, but I contemplated whether to include my grandchildren or donate to charity. The room fell silent. Then Michael cleared his throat. "Mom, that's thoughtful of you, but you don't need to worry about that now. You have many years ahead." "Decades," Jennifer quickly added. "You're only 72, which is young nowadays." I persisted. "I want to ensure everything is in order. You never know what might happen. Perhaps I should consult a lawyer." "A lawyer?" Tiffany's voice sharpened before she caught herself. "That seems expensive, Barbara. We could assist you with an online service." "I prefer a lawyer," I replied calmly. That night, I overheard them arguing in the master bedroom. The walls were thin, and I caught snippets of their conversation about ensuring they were protected and concerns that I might change my will. Jennifer's voice echoed from the hallway, indicating they had been eavesdropping. "We've been taking care of her. We deserve consideration." They weren't concerned about me. They were anxious about their inheritance, an inheritance from a woman they had slowly starved in her own home, a woman they had degraded, exploited, and treated as a burden. It became clear to me that I needed to take action. I could no longer continue living this facade, watching them perform kindness while planning their futures around my demise. I had already scheduled an appointment with a lawyer, not for my will, not yet, but to claim my lottery winnings. My appointment was set for Monday morning at 10 a.m. The weekend leading up to that appointment felt surreal. Jennifer took me out for brunch, actually paying for it herself. Michael and Tiffany announced their decision to move out by spring, claiming they had saved enough. "You've been so generous letting us stay here. We want you to have your space back," Michael stated. The weekend passed in a haze of anticipation. I hardly slept, frequently touching the hidden lottery ticket inside my Bible, reminding myself that this piece of paper symbolized freedom, security, and the ability to never go hungry again. More importantly, it represented the truth. Once I claimed the ticket, I would see precisely who everyone truly was. Their masks would fall away, and I would recognize my children for possibly the first time in my life. On Monday morning, I dressed in my best outfit, a navy suit I had worn to George's funeral. I informed everyone I had a doctor's appointment, and no one questioned it. Why would they? I was old, invisible, and seemingly irrelevant, just Mommy Dearest. They needed to maintain their facade until the mystery lottery winner revealed themselves. The law office, Morrison and Associates, was downtown, in a building I had passed countless times but never entered. I had chosen them with care, as they specialized in estate planning and lottery winners. I had read extensively about claiming large lottery prizes, recognizing the need for strategy. A single misstep could lead to everyone in my life appearing with their hands out. They already had their hands out. I was merely ensuring they would never reach me again. The receptionist greeted me warmly upon my arrival. "Mrs. Sullivan, Mr. Morrison is expecting you." She escorted me to a corner office with a view of downtown. Robert Morrison, a silver-haired man in his 50s, greeted me with kind eyes and a firm handshake. "You mentioned on the phone that this was about a lottery claim." I pulled the ticket from my purse, my hands shaking, and placed it on his desk. He examined it carefully, then looked up at me with a sense of wonder. "You're the Miller's gas station winner. The entire town has been searching for you." "I know," I replied quietly. "I need assistance, not only with claiming the money, but also with protecting myself." Over the next 2 hours, I recounted my entire story: the pension, the house, my children moving in, the food situation, the financial demands, and their treatment of me until the lottery news broke. I described their sudden transformation into Mommy Dearest, realizing it was not out of love but fear of losing a potential fortune. Mr. Morrison listened intently, without interruption. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. "Mrs. Sullivan, I've encountered many cases like this. Money has a way of revealing people's true nature. What would you like to do?" "I want to claim the money anonymously. I want to establish a trust and ensure my children never see a penny of it." My voice remained steady and clear. I had never been more certain of anything in my life. "You understand this may destroy your relationship with them," he cautioned gently. "Once they discover I am the winner and that I have excluded them, there will be no going back." "There is no relationship to destroy," I replied. "What we have now is a performance. They act as if they care because they believe it will benefit them. I want to see what happens when they realize it won't." He nodded slowly. "Very well. Let's begin with claiming the ticket." We established a trust that would claim the money rather than me personally, ensuring my name never became public. Subsequently, we worked on my estate planning, allowing me to leave everything to charity, establish scholarships, and determine my desired allocations. Mr. Morrison inquired if I had any other family who genuinely cared about me. I thought of David, stationed overseas. We had lost touch over the years. He had his own life and family. "I have a son in the Marines," I replied. "We don't communicate frequently." "Would you consider including him?" he asked. I contemplated it carefully. David had never asked for anything. He had built his life independently, without expectation of handouts or inheritance. "Perhaps, but I want to understand who he truly is first. I want to speak with him without revealing the money." It took 3 weeks to finalize everything. The Lottery Commission verified the ticket, and the trust was established, dubbed the Sullivan Family Trust, intentionally vague. Mr. Morrison managed everything while I maintained my act at home, playing the role of the grateful, struggling mother while my children continued their facade as a loving family. The money was deposited into the trust account on a Thursday, $63 million. After taxes and the lump sum reduction, it amounted to approximately $38 million. My children remained oblivious to this fortune. Mr. Morrison guided me through immediate decisions, establishing a monthly income of $50,000 for me, more than I could ever spend. We created education funds for my grandchildren, ensuring they would only access the money for college after turning 25. We donated $5 million to veterans organizations in George's name, and I allocated funds for David if he chose to accept them in a separate account. Then, I made a decision that Mr. Morrison tried to dissuade me from. I announced I was selling the house. Selling? Michael's expression paled. Mom, you can't sell. This is our family home. Your family home? I replied quietly. You told me 3 days ago that you were moving out in the spring. You had saved enough. We meant eventually, Tiffany stammered. We didn't mean right away. Where would you even go? I'm moving into a senior living community, one of those nice ones with activities and meal plans. I've already put down a deposit. This was true. I had toured 3 places and chosen the most appealing one, a 2-bedroom apartment with a full kitchen, beautiful views, and social activities costing $4,000 a month, which had previously been impossible. Now it was manageable. But what about us? Jennifer's voice rose. Craig just started his job here. The kids are in school. We can't just move out right now. You'll figure it out, I said. You're all adults. You'll do what you must. The following week was chaotic. They scrambled to find affordable apartments and begged me to reconsider. They reminded me of every sacrifice they had made while living here, every bill they had assisted with, every kindness they had shown. You were helping with bills, I pointed out to Michael during one of these discussions. You contributed $300 a month while living in a 4-bedroom house, rent-free. I covered the property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and provided you with $300 on top of that. You didn't help with bills, you added to them. Mom, don't be like this, Jennifer pleaded. We're family. Family sticks together. You're right, I replied. Family does stick together. Family doesn't treat one another as burdens. Family doesn't make their mother eat leftovers while they feast. Family doesn't demand money from someone living on $900 a month while they buy luxury cars and join golf clubs. That's not fair. Craig interjected, none of this is fair. I cut him off. But it's over now. You have 30 days to find somewhere else to live. The house will be on the market by February 1st. I watched their expressions shift. The kindness evaporated. Their masks cracked and fell away. Tiffany labeled me ungrateful, while Jennifer branded me selfish. Michael accused me of being a bitter old woman who would die alone. They voiced everything I had known they were thinking for the past year, but had been too calculating to articulate. When they moved out, I sat in my empty house and experienced peace for the first time in 18 months. They left behind destruction, holes in walls, stains on carpets, broken cabinet doors. They had ruined my home in their departure, a final act of spite from children who had forgotten I was a person deserving of respect. I hired contractors to repair the damage. The house was renovated, painted, and staged beautifully. It sold within 3 days for $40,000 over the asking price. I didn't need the money, but it felt like vindication. The house they had treated as their personal hotel, the one they had anticipated inheriting and likely selling immediately after my funeral, was now beyond their reach forever. I moved into my senior living apartment the same week. It had 2 bedrooms, one for me and another for the craft room I had always desired. I joined a book club, began taking watercolor classes, and made friends with individuals who did not view me as a resource to exploit. For the first time in years, I enjoyed 3 meals a day, regained the weight I had lost, and the shaking in my hands ceased. Mr. Morrison finalized my will. Everything, the trust, the investments, the remaining lottery money, was designated for charity. Veterans organizations, homeless shelters, food banks, and scholarships for first-generation college students. The education funds for my grandchildren remained separate and untouchable by their parents. They would receive quality educations if they desired, but their parents would never see a cent. David returned home on leave 2 months after everything unfolded. I reached out to him, inviting him to visit. We sat in my new apartment, and I shared my experience, how his siblings had treated me, how they had changed when they thought someone nearby had won the lottery, and how they reacted when I sold the house. He wept. My 30-year-old Marine son sat in my living room and cried. Mom, I'm so sorry. I should have been there. I should have called more. I should have known. You were serving your country, I reassured him. You were building your own life. That's what I wanted for you. That's what parents are meant to do. I then revealed the lottery win and what I had done with the money. He remained silent for a long time before asking, Did you set aside anything for me? My heart raced. This was the moment that would reveal whether I had any children left who loved me for more than what I could provide. I'm asking, he continued, because I want to ensure you kept enough for yourself. You deserve to enjoy it, Mom. You deserve to travel, to live well, to have everything you never had. I don't want you giving it all away out of anger. I want you to be happy. That was how I knew. I had one child who still saw me as a person, as his mother, as someone worthy of happiness, rather than merely a source of future inheritance. Michael, Jennifer, and Tiffany never spoke to me again after discovering I was the lottery winner. They remained angry, convinced I owed them something. However, at 72 years old, I am living in a beautiful apartment, surrounded by friends, enjoying nutritious meals, and sleeping peacefully. I owe them nothing, not anymore. Please subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. With love and respect.